Welcome back to my channel, guys. Today, as you can tell by my title, I'm going to be talking about the pregnancy symptoms I had for each of my pregnancies, which I had a boy and a girl, and they're very different, so I thought I'd share with you what my symptoms were. I'm going to start off with my earliest symptoms, things that I felt before I got my positive test, and then I'll tell you, as the pregnancies progressed, what my symptoms were, you know, in the middle and towards the end. I'd like to take a second to, first of all, ask you to subscribe if you haven't already. You hit the red button down below. I am still just starting out my channel, so if you subscribe now, you can be an OG. I would like to put a disclaimer out there that I am not a doctor or a nurse, and these observations are just my own personal experience. They do not mean that you are definitely having a boy or a girl. They're just what happened to me. I would suggest that if you do get a positive test, or if you've already gotten one, you should make an appointment with your OB to be seen, and you also should start taking a prenatal right away. Even if you just think that you are, you should start as soon as possible. So my first pregnancy was 6 years ago, and that was with my son. When I got pregnant with him, I knew from the first day, I just knew that I was pregnant. Like, I just felt it in my bones. I don't know how else to describe it. I just had that gut instinct that it was real. And then with my daughter, whom I got pregnant about a year ago, she's 2 months old now, or actually 3 months old now. I had absolutely no clue at the beginning. I felt absolutely nothing. I had no indication or inkling whatsoever that I was pregnant. In fact, I really felt like my period was coming with her. I was actually really waiting for it to start, and it was late, and I'm like, what's going on here? And I took a test and it was positive, and I had no idea that I was going to be pregnant. She was not planned. She was a surprise, a very lovely surprise, and I wouldn't change a thing. My son, however, he was planned, so I was kind of looking out for it. So I will say that that might make a difference, because I was looking for it from day one with him versus with her. But the very first thing that I had as a symptom with my son from literally one DPO was twinges down, like in my, I guess my ovary, my tubes, whatever. I could just feel like, I look back on it now and I would describe it like I felt like my body was trying extra hard to get that egg down to the uterus. And so I really do think that your body knows. I feel like it just knows. They say there's no science and there's no way to detect until implantation that you're pregnant, but I just feel like that change that takes place in the egg, your body just knows that it's different than other months. I don't know. That's just my opinion again, but that's what I think. So with her, I didn't feel any twinges. I was actually I was 5.5 weeks, almost 6 weeks along before I even took a test and figured out that I was pregnant. And the day that I bought the test, I bought it because I jumped down from a table that I was sitting on, and I felt like this weird pulling feeling, and I thought, that's weird. That kind of felt like really mild round ligament pain. And then I started thinking, when was my last period? I feel like my period should be here, because I kept feeling for a few days like it's about to start, it's about to start, it's about to start. And it wasn't like twinges that I was feeling, it was like this bloated fullness that I was like, okay, it's almost here. And so then I bought a test because I had that pain, that, I don't know what you'd call it, cramp when I jumped off the table. And the test was so incredibly positive. I'll have to tell another story all about that, because it's actually really, really funny, but that's for another day in another video. Anyway, the next symptom that I had with my son was that I had this like really strong metallic taste in my mouth before I got my positive test, and with her I had no changes in my mouth at all until like way later in the pregnancy. It kind of tastes like blood is in your mouth, or like a penny is in your mouth, or something like that. And that I had at the very beginning with my son, but not my daughter. Bloating is the next thing I have here on my list. I had bloating with both of them. That was actually pretty uniform. I, again, attributed it with my daughter to my period coming, and then with my son, I feel like it started getting noticeable about the time that I got my positive test, which was at 9 DPO. And again, if you were expecting your period to come, then you would just think that it was period bloat coming. So I don't know if that one is really all that helpful for you guys. Obviously, no period. With my son, again, I got my first very faint positive at 9 DPO, and I wasn't expecting my period until 14 DPO. Now with my daughter, I was, I think, at cycle day 36 or 37, and that's pretty long. That's the longest I've ever gone without a period, and so that was the only thing that tipped me off for my daughter. Headaches. So I didn't get any headaches in the beginning for my son. He was actually a pretty mild pregnancy, to be totally honest, in the beginning. Other than just like twinges and having that metallic taste, I didn't really have anything too early on. But with my daughter, I had constant headaches. I had been getting them before I took a test, but I just thought it was stress. I just thought it was, you know, just things going on in my life. I have my son, if you don't know, if you're new here, he has ADHD and ODD, and that's extremely stressful, and that's kind of a lot. So unless you have a child that has those issues, then it's kind of hard to explain like how much of a toll that will take on you and your family over time. You know, you spend like a few hours with a kid like that, and they're, you know, a little difficult, but not too bad. But, you know, day after day after day after day, year after year after year, you know, it really kind of starts to get to you. Nausea and vomiting is something I really want to talk about. So with my son, I only got nauseous in the beginning when I took my prenatal. I first started out taking the gummies, and after like 2 weeks, no, not even that much. After like a week of taking them, they were just so gross, and like they made me want to throw up. And so I had to switch. And I ended up switching to a capsule from Nature Made. They're like, I want to say $16 to $18 at Walmart for like 60 or 90 days. It's pretty reasonable as far as prenatals go. And that was the one where I didn't feel sick, and it really didn't contribute too much to my constipation. Too much iron for me will constipate me, so I have to be really careful about how much iron I take in my prenatal, and that one for me just worked really great. So if you're having trouble finding one that works for you, I highly suggest you try Nature Made, and they sell them at Walmart. The nausea that I got with my daughter didn't start until my 6th week, and I got my positive test on like a Friday, and then like Monday I started my 6th week, and I threw up that morning while I was getting ready for work, and I didn't feel any nausea whatsoever before that. So I don't know if like it was all in my mind because I had got the positive test, but it was just something that I didn't feel until after my test. So I actually had really significant nausea and vomiting from week 6 to week 25. And that's completely different than with my son. With my son, I felt great. Well, as great as you can feel being pregnant. And with her, I was like debilitatingly sick. I wasn't sick enough where I was ever hospitalized, but I was very sick. And my doctor suggested I take B6 and Unisom. I split my B6 into 4 because the pills are 100 milligrams, and I split them into 4s. And so I took 25 milligrams of the B6, and then the Unisom tablets, you have to make sure you get the right kind because there's 2 kinds. There's one that's safe for pregnancy, and there's one that's not. The one that I did take, I split in half. And so it was a 25 milligram pill, so that's 12.5 milligrams each. And I would take those 2 together at night because they make you tired, because it's Unisom, it's a sleeping pill. And so I took them at the same time every night before bed. And I had to take it. I took it my entire pregnancy. I even took it like a week after I gave birth because I just didn't want to be sick. And so it helped keep me, I think, at bay enough in the beginning till about week 25 to where I could still manage to go to work and I wasn't hospitalized. But after that, I think it just kind of worked and I really wasn't too sick and I could resume eating whatever I wanted to an extent. My nausea and vomiting was significantly worse with my daughter than with my son. Like 4,000-fold worse. I can't even, it literally like scarred me into like never wanting to be pregnant again because I was so sick for so long and I had to work full time through it and it was awful. One of the last things I want to talk about is appetite and cravings. So I had a very large appetite before I got my positive test with my daughter, and that was the only thing that anybody around me said that they noticed about me. Like the people I work with, once they found out I was pregnant, they were like, oh, you know, we had noticed that you were eating a lot. And I was like, I didn't feel like I was eating a lot. And they were like, well, you were. So apparently I was very hungry and didn't even notice. With my son, I feel like my appetite was normal, and then at the end I started to get very specific cravings. I like only ever wanted to eat chocolate cupcakes and spaghetti. That was it. That was it. With my daughter, I craved parfaits, specifically Oreo, and pineapple was something that I craved somewhere in the middle, and then I didn't want to eat it anymore. Maybe I just ate too much of it. But with him, I think other than the chocolate cupcake, I guess I was craving salt because I really wanted spaghetti with extra salt like all the time. And then with her, I wanted the sweet stuff like parfait. I wanted ice cream all the time. Pineapple fruits have like a lot of sugar in them. So I guess you could say that with my son, I wanted salty, and with my daughter, I wanted sugar and sweet. And then of course the very last symptom that you get all throughout, you know, especially the end of pregnancy, is frequent the bathroom. I feel like it was kind of the same with both, and it's kind of a hard one to talk about because, you know, with her, the difference with her is I had already been pregnant and given birth before, but with him I had never been pregnant before or given birth in my life, and that can kind of change things in that department. And so, but I do feel like they were pretty similar, so that really wasn't anything to go off of. In conclusion, what I would say is the biggest differences when I look back on them is how sick I was, and just like my gut instinct was so much stronger with my boy than with my girl. Okay, I need to hurry up and wrap this up. Okay, today I'm coming to you from my car because I am on my lunch break at work. This is the only time that I could find this week to sit down and talk with you somewhere in daylight, because where I live, it's dark out when I go to work and it's dark by the time I get home and eat, and so I needed to do this basically on my lunch break. That was my only choice. So hence the hat. It is winter. If you're coming and watching me in the summer, I hope that you find me festive. Anyway, okay, so thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that this helped you to get through the 2-week wait, or even just get through the wait of finding out the gender of your baby. I know when I was pregnant, I scoured the internet and YouTube to watch videos like this just to pass the time, and so I am happy to give you that, to help you to pass the time. I hope that you'll stick around and you'll keep watching me. I'm going to do more videos having to do with my pregnancies, maybe my birth stories, just different things that pertain to pregnancy. Even though I'm not pregnant right now, I did just have a baby, like I said, 2 to 3 months ago, so it's still pretty fresh to me. I'm still pretty fresh postpartum, and so I feel like, you know, there's still a lot that I could talk about. So please come back and watch my future videos, and stick around, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and I will see you in my next video. Have a great weekend. Bye.